Across the street.
Well, hold on. If it's not for safety, I already have permission from the land. I have her permission to stay.
It is for
Sir,
safety.
you cannot film my client out.
So is everyone leaving or just me?
Across the street.
Everyone or just
5,
me?
4.
Oh, yeah,
3.
you're gonna be like that?
You're interfering with my job. You're making my job a lot harder than it needs to be.
The cop said I was trying to get a good video for views. They recently prosecuted me in criminal court for this. Am I guilty of the charge of interfering with public duties? A criminal for just doing my job? In today's corruption report, I'll show you what happened at the trial, so you can make your own verdict. After that, you'll find out whether or not I was convicted by a jury of my peers. A lot of viewers have noticed that I've been off the radar for a while. I haven't posted many new videos. Unfortunately, things have not gone my way here in Fort Bend County, Texas. After arresting me, Sergeant Rollin seized my cameras and video files. I didn't have a copy of this A-roll footage until now. Finally, you get to hear the audio of the full encounter.
I'm a journalist. I film these guys. You're Mrs. Kraft?
Yes, but what the hell are you doing on my property?
I can go to the road if you'd like. I'm making sure they don't hurt your son.
Yeah.
Would you like me to film for his safety or not?
Yes, but I don't want this in papers and everything
I'm not
else.
going to put it on paper. I'm watching the deputies, not your family member, okay?
Okay.
I'm familiar with your son's case and what the Brazoria County deputies and these guys have done to him.
This is working.
Sorry, you need to stay back over there.
We're trying to safely get him some help. We've been trying now for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The video footage you are viewing is my property, but for years I was denied access to it. The robbery and homicide detectives got a search warrant for the video by claiming that I refused to comply after Sergeant Rollins told me again to move across the street. Finally, the county allowed me to have a copy after the video was played in court, but only after I paid a fee for my own video footage. It's pretty disheartening, but that's the modern American experience. You know, the land of the free. I silently filmed from a safe and reasonable distance for about 5 minutes. Deputies Ricky Rodriguez and Matthew Lacey, who I had filmed numerous times, were waiting for a supervisor and a crisis intervention team deputy to arrive. That's the standard protocol for mental health calls. Deputy Rodriguez later testified that he didn't perceive any danger at this time and that the location by the gas pumps was not an unsafe location. When citizens arrived to film the police, he said he should just allow them to, in a safe manner, continue filming.
Go across the street, please.
Across the street?
Yes, across the street.
So you can shoot them?
What's wrong with you, man?
What's wrong with you?
Please go across the street. Thank you.
Sir, I'm with Texana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're...
I'm going to do the EDO on him.
Okay.
I believe CRT is coming out here. Well, after the welfare shift on...
Across the street.
Well, hold on. If it's not for safety, I already have permission from the land. I have her permission to stay.
It is for
Sir,
safety.
you cannot film my client out.
So is everyone leaving or just me?
Across the street.
Everyone or just
5,
me?
4.
Oh, yeah,
3,
you're gonna be like that?
2, 1. Come here.
You're crazy.
Thank you. I asked twice, 3, 4 times. You're interfering with my job. You're making my job a lot harder than it needs to be. Do you have any weapons on you?
I'd like to speak to an attorney.
Do you have any weapons on you?
I don't answer questions. I'd like to speak to an attorney. My right ankle is injured.
Put yourself in this position.
on the backside. There's a door on the back of the house.
T. Rollins, he's messing with my cameras right now.
He's gone out the back before it went into the field. So we'll keep an eye on, make sure he don't leave.
I was held in a patrol Tahoe closer to the trailer home. 40 minutes later, I was brought into 2 separate armed standoff scenes. Sheriff Eric Fagan and Chief Deputy Matty Provost interviewed me in a back room at the jail. I asserted my Fifth Amendment rights numerous times. However, I was denied an attorney. The sheriff's office refuses to publicly release the video of that encounter, but I know it exists because they gave it to my defense attorney. If I'm feeling cute, I'll include it when I edit this video. YOLO, you know. While I was in jail, the sheriff's office tried to seize my truck and dash camera. However, they forgot to check the sheriff's office parking lot.
So, what are you doing here?
I would like an attorney, please.
You're not under arrest.
I would like an attorney, please.
Okay. You don't have that right unless you get arrested.
I bet you Justin won't do it again.
I bet he didn't do anything wrong. I bet he beats the charges too. I bet he did. What's your name, ma'am? What's your name?
Chief Provost.
I was booked into jail after Rollins swore under oath on a probable cause affidavit. Rollins said he told all of them to quickly move across the street. Notice that in his affidavit, he first stated that he wanted to utilize the woman, so he moved them to a safe location behind a gas station next door. After that, he wrote about me. A reasonable reader of the account would probably assume that the alleged events occurred in chronological order. Rollins swore, "I told Justin Pulliam he had 5 seconds to start moving, and he just stood there. I began to count down from 5 down to 1, and Justin did not move." This affidavit initiated the process of criminal prosecution and required me to pay $500 to bond out of jail. Since I had never been arrested before, it also gave me a rap sheet. Unfortunately, some viewers and potential jurors already believe that I am guilty just because I was arrested. But keep watching even if you don't believe me, because today's report is about what the police said in their reports and on the stand. Speaking of reports, Rollins self-approved his offense report a few days later. He wrote, "I again told him to move across the street because he couldn't stand there due to it being directly in front of the residence, where a man was barricaded with a weapon." I couldn't find that part in the video. Leave a comment with a timestamp if you're able to find it. Interference with public duties carries a punishment of 6 months in jail. It's a Class B misdemeanor. In Texas, charges like that are normally direct filed to the court by information. But for my case, they impaneled a grand jury in the county court of Fort Bend County, which is made up and unauthorized by state law. The fake grand jury indicted me, copying the language of a complaint that the district attorney was too scared to swear to. They said that I interfered by failing to move across the street and or by failing to follow Sergeant Taylor Rollin's instructions to move. Executive Assistant DA Wes Wittig explained,
"Turn off your camera and stop recording our office."
Wrong video. Wittig explained,
"You know, I think my attorney emailed y'all like very promptly, like a week or two after I was arrested. So,
yeah, I think he was in touch pretty soon."
Yeah.
Take a misdemeanor to the grand jury. I only see that with police officers. I don't think I've ever seen it with a regular citizen.
It happens. I mean, it's not the norm, but it gives you, a security blanket, I guess, in a way, to be honest.
Indeed, I was the only member of the public indicted for a misdemeanor that year.
This is retaliation against me and Justin.
Honestly, Mr. Grant, I tell you, from our office perspective, you're not special, right, in that sense.
Right.
Okay, that's not the way we operate. Okay, but we're not going to do that to you.
Fort Bend County bans recording in courtrooms. Well, unless you are a judge. On my first court date, a sheriff's deputy shook me down and seized my camera. When I asked to speak with a judge, Sheriff Fagan's deputy told me he had already discussed it with the judge, and that Judge Matthew would not allow recording.
If you walk into a courtroom wearing a camera, they're going to take the camera.
Did I do that?
So
nobody's done that.
Well, apparently it happened inside that courtroom.
They took his camera.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're going to take the camera, and when you're done, they'll give it back.
And was I wearing it? Was I wearing it? Was I video recording in the courtroom?
I don't know.
Sure enough, on the door to the courtroom, there is a sign that bans photography, claiming it is a second-degree felony to record. I'm not sure which felony that could possibly be, but in Fort Bend, the Law County, they don't enforce the law, but rather their feelings of what they want the law to be. At any rate, what Sergeant Rollins and the district attorney don't know is that I had my video camera in the courtroom the entire time during the trial testimony. In a few minutes, you will get unprecedented access to the trial, so you can hear for yourself what was said on the stand. The state continued to delay the trial. In October and November, Assistant District Attorney Patty Fernandez used outstanding discovery as an excuse to delay the case until February. However, emails I obtained reveal that Fernandez made no effort to obtain the discovery until a few days before the February pretrial setting. In a surprise move, the ADAs literally dropped my case before the hearing.
No pen. Do you have a pen?
I have a pen.
Oh man, did you film that?
No. Is that the DA? I'm gonna go do it.
It was a good song.
Go see if they need any help.
No worries.
Hey, do you guys need some help picking all that up?
No, we're good.
Are you sure?
Yep.
All right.
I'm just clumsy.
Just clumsy. It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Happens. Ooh, that's Justin's picture. You didn't drop all Justin's files, did you? Hey, why is the DA's office still prosecuting Justin? When you know that obviously that all the police lied, there's no reason to keep up with this unlawful prosecution. None at all. Why are we even going through the motions? Let's just knock this out so we can get right to the
Sir,
civil
we don't
trial.
comment on active cases. If you have questions, you can talk to the media rep.
Yeah, y'all should just drop it.
My defense attorney, Kobe DeBose, filed a motion to quash the indictment in early December, and it was finally heard on Valentine's Day. He argued that the interference statute does not criminalize omissions. Furthermore, a more specific statute, which is a Class C offense, criminalizes the omission of not following an order.
There are 3 different bases for the motion to quash in this motion. 2 of them are related to...
And, Your Honor, I don't mean to interject.
Sure.
Your Honor, I'd like to tender to counsel. Yes, Your Honor, I am tendering. I just tendered 1 copy to defense counsel. Tendering to the court. I just wanted to accurately depict the issues in this case.
Fernandez wrote, the first deputy at the scene gave the defendant a command to stay back, but the defendant did not comply. She continued, Sergeant Rollins gave the defendant 5 seconds to start moving, but the defendant failed to comply with the sergeant's orders. The government's argument is basically that, just by randomly showing up to film the police, you have already committed a voluntary act that satisfies the culpability element of a crime.
Now, what we know about the law in Texas is that, generally speaking, we do not criminalize omissions or failures to act, we criminalize acts, unless there is a specific carve-out in the statute under which you are being charged. In Section C here, a person who omits to perform an act does not commit an offense unless a law provides that the omission is an offense or otherwise provides that he has a duty to perform the act.
First and foremost, not moving is not an omission. Here, defendant's refusal to move is an act that interrupted, disrupted, impeded, and/or interfered with Sergeant Rollins' duty and authority to render the scene safely. The defendant randomly showed up, further endangering his life and the life, and the lives of the deputies and the Texana members that were present. He further escalated the situation by not complying with the orders of Sergeant Rollins. Again, it is not only the defendant's failure to comply or his omission to move across the street to a safe location, but it was that action or inaction, in conjunction with failing to follow Sergeant Rollins' instructions during a high-risk situation.
Judge, I want to address some of the things she brought up. Specifically, she brought up the point that the refusal to move is not an omission. That is a strange, I think, torture of the English language.
I still believe it fits under. A person commits an offense only if he voluntarily engages in conduct, including an act. So I think it fits in the first parameter as opposed to the latter. So great argument, but I am going to deny the motion to quash the indictment.
ADA Fernandez then suggested a plea to a traffic ticket, which I should have taken. But at the time, I falsely believed America to be a nation of liberty and justice for all. A few weeks before the trial, Fernandez was replaced by prosecutors Stacey Antu and Jacqueline Toman. I did not file for a change of venue because of our faith in the people of Fort Bend County. We didn't want any other jury. Nevertheless, the district attorney should have recused his office from my case. A motion in limine blocks certain testimony and evidence from being introduced at a trial. Specifically in my case, a motion was filed to block any reference to social media content and any reference regarding prior criminal history, bad acts, or character.
Yes, Judge, may I respond briefly? So the defense attorney has subpoenaed a handful of witnesses that we anticipate him to use those witnesses to elicit testimony about a Facebook post. A Facebook post was shared through the deputy, through one of the deputies unrelated to this case, personal Facebook, a mugshot of the defendant. This happened after that incident, so we are saying that, for this not to be mentioned during the trial, because it is not relevant.
Is it in regard to this?
It is his mugshot from this arrest. He has only been arrested once.
Oh, you assumed I filed that motion. No, the defense had nothing to hide, but Fort Bend County needed to hide the social media content of any government employee. Additionally, all 3 state witnesses had Brady disclosures, but that information was banned from the trial. For example, if the wife of one of the officers wrote a letter saying he is no better than the criminals he puts in jail, that letter could not be used by my attorney to discredit the witness.
Seconds matter. Way down yonder, in nearly the southernmost tip of Fort Bend County, outside of the Needville city limits and near Damon, Texas, there lives a man named Edwin. In order to understand why we are here today, it is important to know a little bit about Edwin.
The state opened by slamming not me, but Edwin. It was weird. They finally got around to me.
Shortly after, the defendant, Justin Pulliam, arrives on scene decked out in recording equipment, and, almost immediately, he is told 2 times by Deputy Rodriguez that he needs to stay back. He ignores those commands, remains on scene, and continues recording. Sergeant Rollins gives a 4th and final order to go across the street for his safety. The defendant, again, refuses, and Sergeant Rollins countdowns 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he arrests the defendant. We are here because on December 21, 2021, the defendant refused, not 1, not 2, but 6 separate orders to stay back and go across the street. And each time he did so, he not only put his own life in danger, but he put the lives of every person in the area in danger. Edwin was, ultimately, arrested for aggravated assault against a public servant, for pointing a rifle at Deputy Lacey and Sergeant Rollins. When Sergeant Rollins was arresting the defendant for interfering, he was in a high-risk situation where every second mattered, where every decision he made was a critical one. In any moment that he was distracted by the defendant's disruption, could have resulted in tragedy.
What you are going to learn about this situation is that these cops who are doing a hard job, the state wants you to believe that they were just out there doing their job, and this guy wouldn't leave them alone, and he wouldn't take their instructions, so they had to arrest him, right? This is about justice, because you have to follow the law. These cops, there are some inaccuracies in what they said happened here. I am going to say that now, and then when these inaccuracies come out, you are going to know exactly what I am talking about. There are inaccuracies in these instructions. What was Justin instructed? When, and how? There are some real inaccuracies in the record on what Justin did when he was told to leave, okay. You've heard them, 6 different times he was told to leave, and you heard the state say, this is what they are going to prove to you, this is why Justin is guilty, we are going to go back there, and we are going to ask you to find him guilty. Why? Because he was told to move, and he did not, he just stood there. You heard about a countdown, right? Like you would do to your kids, I am going to give you to the count of 5 to come over here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if your kid doesn't move, maybe you issue some punishment, right? You are going to hear that countdown happen, and they told you that Justin didn't move. You are going to see that that is not exactly right, okay? We had these questions about, would you believe an officer, or would you believe him less? You will see the video, that is the best thing. You are going to be able to watch it with your own eyes, and you are going to get to decide, was Justin Pulliam interfering with these officers? Or was he just standing there videotaping, and the officers picked a fight with him because they were tired of being filmed that day? You are going to be able to make that choice, and you are going to be able to make the choice on whether what they are telling you, that he received 6 instructions to leave, and he just stood there and he didn't move, you are going to be able to make the decision on whether that is true or not.
The state called Deputy Ricky Rodriguez.
And what did he do once he arrived?
He exited the pickup truck and he had multiple cameras and he was recording.
Do you know why he was recording?
I don't. He just started to walk closer and closer to where we were.
Did you ever have any interaction with him?
A brief interaction.
What was that interaction?
When I saw him show up, I told him to get back. I ran back to my vehicle to retrieve my microphone, and I also told him that he needed to get back.
And so, at that time, did he respond to you at all?
No.
Did he get back?
No, ma'am. He just kept getting closer.
Okay, did he get closer, or did he largely remain where he was?
Well, he made his way over to where Miss Kraft was, which was the gas pumps.
Finally, the state offered a video into evidence, playing video of events that occurred long after I was arrested.
Ladies, I need y'all to get in your vehicle and go across the street. He's out. Tell this guy right here, too, in the truck.
Okay, Deputy Rodriguez, this is you driving in your patrol vehicle?
Yes.
And just to be clear, the defendant is in your back seat at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
22 Paul 14. I lost sight of him. Is he still in the field?
Deputy Rodriguez, I am pausing at about the 1 hour 1 minute mark. And so we see you on the left, and it looks like you are carrying something. What are you carrying?
In my hands, I am carrying a rifle.
And why are you carrying a rifle?
Because at this point, we knew that Edwin had a rifle.
So I am going to resume your video.
Lock the door. So there was an additional individual who came. He was doing the septic, the porta potty septic stuff. And as you heard, it wasn't until just now that they told the others to leave.
Deputy Rodriguez, I am going to pause real quick. Do you know whose voice that was, that we were hearing?
Yes.
Whose voice?
It is Justin.
Okay, the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
And I am assuming there is recording within your vehicle as well, that picks up that audio?
Yes, ma'am. The back seat has got a camera, and we record.
Okay, resuming the video.
I don't see the man. I see the 4 deputies. I don't see the man. Rodriguez has his AR-15 open and ready to shoot position. Deputy out in the field does too.
That might be a machete.
Deputy Rodriguez, I am pausing here. Are you able to see the movement back in that pasture on this video?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that is?
I believe that is going to be either Deputy Lacey or Sergeant Rollins.
That is not Edwin, correct?
No, ma'am. They were taking a wide approach, so that way we don't accidentally shoot each other in the event that happened.
Okay, so we see here, you appear to be in a shooting position, is that correct?
Correct.
And why is that?
I am aiming at Edwin.
And Edwin is also back in that pasture?
He is approaching the residence.
So everything we saw in that video was after Justin had already been arrested, right?
Not everything in that video. The video started when I turned my lights and sirens on the way there.
Okay, that is a fair point. Your full video which we have, would have captured several hours, or, more than an hour. What I am asking you is, the video that was shown to you, that we reviewed together, all of that was after Justin had been arrested, right?
Yes.
Okay, and, in fact, wasn't Justin arrested probably 10, 15 minutes after you arrived there? Does that sound like a reasonable estimate?
I don't recall.
Okay, but it wouldn't have been an hour, right?
No.
He would have been in custody for quite some time, by the time we got to the situation where Edwin was taken down?
I don't know.
Okay, well, there was enough time for you to drive him to the other scene, is that right?
Yes.
And enough time for you to drive him back to the first scene, is that right?
Correct.
And there was some amount of time between when he was arrested and when you drove him to the second scene, is that right?
Yes.
Can you estimate how long that was?
I don't recall.
Okay, alright, because you weren't really paying all that much attention to what was going on with Justin, is that right?
No, sir. I'm not keeping track of time when I am out there.
Right, your attention was on Edwin, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess what I am saying is, you would agree with me that Edwin having a gun and pointing it at officers, all of that happened at least 20 to 30 minutes after Justin was arrested, right?
It was very shortly after.
It was.
It was sooner than that.
It was shortly after Justin was arrested?
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to go back through the video a little bit. I don't want to have to watch the whole thing, but we kind of had some back and forth on how much time it was. There is no need for us to guess, right? I mean, the video would show how much time went between when he was arrested and when, all of the stuff started with Edwin, right?
Correct.
Alright, let's start here. I want to play the sound because that is how we played it earlier. Let me get that going for you, alright?
Rollins, he's messing with my cameras right
before
now.
I went into the field.
Fort Bend County
So we'll
Sheriff's
keep an eye,
Office.
make sure he don't leave.
So, I am going to stop here. Did you hear any voices in that video?
Yes.
Did you hear Justin Pulliam's voice?
Yes.
Okay. Is this you in the video behind the truck, here?
Yes.
Stretching?
Uh-huh.
In that vehicle? The silver?
Okay, do you got any idea what's that shadow that's on your car?
Yes.
What is it?
I believe it is Justin Pulliam's equipment.
Okay, so by that time he would have been arrested, is that right?
Yes.
Is he put into your vehicle shortly after that?
Immediately, yes.
Okay, immediately after that. Okay, so we can agree that happened at about, let's call it the 17-minute mark?
Yes.
Okay, and earlier, the video that they showed us, it was over an hour, right? The timestamp at the top said over an hour?
Yes.
So we can agree that, at a minimum, we are talking about 43 minutes between when Justin was arrested and what happened earlier that they played for you?
Yes.
What do you want me to do with this guy? Release him?
Take him with us. He's going to jail though.
Okay.
He's going to jail for interference.
Okay.
Did you ask Sergeant Rollins? Let me see if I have it. I don't want to misquote you here. Did you ask Sergeant Rollins, what do you want me to do with this guy? Release him.
Yes.
Did you ask Sergeant Rollins if he wanted you to release him because you didn't see Justin commit a crime?
No.
So you had seen Justin commit a crime?
Yes.
Do you make a habit of releasing people who you see commit crimes?
I'm sorry. Say that again?
When you see a person commit a crime, and you know they have committed a crime, do you often think that you should release them?
No.
Okay, so how do you choose who you release and who you take to jail?
At this point, I was trying to get clarification on what we were doing with Justin.
Okay, but you just testified earlier, just a second ago, that you did see Justin commit a crime, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, but again, you asked your supervisor whether he wanted you to release him?
Uh-huh, yes.
So that question was just random, because you wanted clarification?
Yes.
You said that you did a briefing with Deputy Lacey whenever he came out, whenever y'all first arrived on the scene, right?
Yes.
And would it be good police practice, when you were briefing with other officers like this, to find a safe place to brief?
Sure.
If you could?
Yes.
And you guys were briefing right there in front of those gas pumps, where your cars were?
In that general area, I'm not really. I don't remember exactly where.
Okay, so that was a safe place?
At the time.
Sergeant Rollins testified next.
Good morning, officer. If you would raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Your testimony was, at the end of that, I need to let him know that I meant business and maybe he needed to know I was being serious, so I am going to give him 5 seconds to move. Right?
Correct.
Okay, and it is your testimony that when you gave him that 5-second warning, he didn't move?
No, he didn't start turning around and start walking towards the other side of the street.
Okay, well, did you give him an instruction to turn around and start walking towards the other side of the street?
I told him many times to move across the street.
Okay, what I am asking you is, with the 5-second warning, you said you've got 5 seconds to move, right?
And right before that I said move across the street.
Okay, but he didn't when you gave him the 5-second countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, he didn't move?
No, sir.
Alright, so he just stood there, right?
He might have shuffled his feet a little bit, but he didn't start moving across the street.
Okay, so, and I will just ask again, it is kind of a yes or no question.
To my recollection, he wasn't moving across the street.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. What I was asking was, he just stood there, right?
I would have to watch the video again.
Okay, well, we are going to get a chance to do that. We can refresh your memory and I can revisit that. So the version of events that we just heard with the prosecutors, that has kind of been your story since day one, right? That is how you told the story. You gave him 5 seconds to move and he didn't move. That is what you told the prosecutors?
Yes, sir.
So when you swear to something under felony perjury, we swear an oath in different places. You swore an oath before you testified, right?
Yes.
And if you don't tell the truth in that, you open yourself up to prosecution, right?
Yes.
For something called perjury?
Yes.
Or aggravated perjury?
Yes.
Okay, and if you did that in this county, in Fort Bend County DA's office would be the one to prosecute you, right?
I would imagine so.
Right, so, you would want to be truthful because there could be some real consequences if you weren't?
Yes.
The prosecutors threw an unnecessary fit over the introduction of my dash camera, even though Rollins had already watched it earlier that week. The jury was sent out so Rollins could review the video prior to it being shown in front of the jury. Finally, late into the second day of the trial, the jury would get to see exactly what happened.
All rise.
Have a seat. Go ahead, Mr. Dubose.
So Sergeant Rollins, you've had an opportunity to review this video now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you something before I ask the judge to publish this video to the jury. After watching this video and having a chance to review it, would you like to change your testimony that you gave, where you said that when you gave Justin a 5-second countdown, he did not move? Would you like to change your testimony?
He did move.
So you would like to change your testimony?
Not across the street, but he moved.
All right, so when you said that he did not move, that wasn't true?
He did move a little bit, yeah. He did not move across the street.
You would agree with me, though, that when you said he did not move, that was wrong?
I would agree.
Go across the street, please.
Across the street?
Yes, across the street.
So you can shoot him?
What's wrong with you, man?
What's wrong with you?
Please go across the street. Thank you.
Sir, I'm with Texana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're.
I'm gonna do the EDO on him.
Okay.
I believe CRT is coming out here, but after the welfare shift on.
Across the street.
Well, hold on. If it's not for safety, I already have permission from the land. I have her permission to stay.
It is for
Sir,
safety.
you cannot film my client out.
So is everyone leaving or just me?
Across the street.
Everyone or just
5,
me?
4.
Oh, yeah,
3,
you're gonna be like that?
2, 1. Come here.
You're crazy.
Thank you. I asked twice, 3, 4 times. You're interfering with my job. You're making my job a lot harder than it needs to be.
All right, so I think we've seen enough of that. So, Sergeant Rollins, we just saw that. Isn't it true that when you gave Justin the 5-second countdown to start moving, that he took 7 steps backwards?
To move across the street, I told him to move across the street.
Can I approach the witness, Judge? And the Elmo maybe, as well?
You may.
Thank you. All right, so, this is Defendant's Exhibit 1. I just want to make sure you have a chance to see it up close, give you an opportunity. Are you familiar with the scene there?
Yes.
Does that look like an overhead shot of where you guys were?
Yes.
So you've seen this picture a few times, but just so that we are clear, the encounter that you guys had happened just around here, right? To the right side of the gas pumps?
Yes.
And your instruction was to move across the street, right?
Yes.
And when you arrested Justin, you are probably somewhere in here.
That looks about right.
Okay, so what is this? I'm sorry, we have to zoom out. Can you help me? I apologize. Okay, so we start off here, and when you arrest Justin, he is around here. So my question is, what would you call this?
A road.
Okay, would you also call it a street?
Yes.
Okay, and is that the street you were telling him to go across?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that when he took his 7 steps backwards, he was moving towards that road?
He was moving towards that road.
Okay, would you agree with me that the only time he stopped taking those 7 steps backwards is because you told him, come here, because you were about to arrest him?
I think he stopped shortly right before that.
Well, you would agree with me that you were walking toward him, right? Doing this.
I think he was. In my opinion, he was stalling.
In your opinion, he was stalling?
Yes.
Well, earlier you testified that he didn't move, and now he is stalling?
Move across the street.
Okay.
When I say he didn't move, I meant move across the street.
So, did you tell him to move quickly?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well.
I told him 5 times though, before this.
Okay, but did you tell him to move quickly?
Not those words, no.
Okay, well, so I have a writing here that is executed 21st of December, 2021. Would you agree with me? 1 second, I want to find the correct part. Alright, would you agree with me that previously on or around 12/21, do you deny that you have a prior writing where you wrote that you immediately told all of them to move quickly?
This document is not into evidence.
Hold on.
Judge, it is a prior inconsistent statement. That is what I am trying
Judge,
to offer for
cannot.
impeachment purposes.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Hold on. All right, come up.
Instead of sending the jury out, the attorneys and judge went to the chambers to argue the rules of evidence. This left me and Rollins alone with the jury in the silent courtroom for several minutes. It was a profound moment, the turning point of the trial. Rollins was literally wiping sweat from his forehead. You couldn't have planned it any better than this.
Back on the record in cause number 21 CC are 225419, the state of Texas versus Justin Reed Pulliam. Go ahead.
All right, Sergeant Rollins, it has been a minute, so I want to backtrack and make sure that everybody is on the same page here. Previously, your testimony, I asked you, did you tell Justin to move quickly across the street, and I believe your testimony was, not in those words. Does that sound right?
I can't remember exactly what I said.
Okay, but, well, I'll move on, I think it's in there. So previously you made a statement. Did you previously write a statement on or about December 27th that you did tell Justin to move quickly across the street?
Are you referring to my offense report?
Yes.
If it is in there, that is what I wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to take a look at it, so you can tell me yes or no, whether you said that?
If you say it's in there, then it's in there.
Okay.
It is hard to write something verbatim when you can't watch a video. It is very difficult to remember your exact words.
So you think having video evidence of what happened is important?
Absolutely.
Without that video evidence, we can make mistakes, right?
Sure.
Okay, and you made a mistake there, because you didn't tell him to move quickly, did you?
Right. I think I said move now. We have to watch the video again. I can't. I said move now, or something like that.
Okay, but your testimony earlier was that Justin was stalling, right?
In my opinion, he was stalling.
Okay, right. So it was important how quickly he moved?
It was important that he moved across the street, period.
Okay, but he was headed that way, right?
I don't think, in my opinion, that he was moving across the street. I think he was just stalling, just standing there, just kind of moving his feet back.
Okay, so did he, or did he not take 7 steps from where you told him to, towards the direction of the street?
After I started moving towards him, he started shuffling backwards and filming me.
So you were upset that he was filming you?
Not at all.
Well, you just mentioned it.
I think he was trying to get video though, and not. He wasn't going to move across the street.
Okay, so the filming was part of the reason why you wound up here? Because he was filming?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm thinking that's why he didn't want to move across the street.
But he took 7 steps backwards, right?
If you say it was 7, sure, 7 tiny steps.
Okay, so we don't give Justin credit for his steps because they were too small?
I don't think he was moving across the street.
Okay,
I asked him 5 times to move across the street, and he kept arguing with me.
But again, from the point where you told him to leave, he was 7 steps further towards the street when you eventually apprehended him, wasn't he?
I told him to leave initially, and he started to wonder. He started to walk that way, and then he stopped, and then he started arguing again. So it is my opinion that he was just going to do the same exact thing over and over again. And due to the circumstances, what kind of scene it was, I didn't have time for that.
Okay.
I needed to make a decision quickly.
So you are agreeing now that he did move, right?
He moved his feet, yes.
Okay, so he moved?
Yes.
Did you make a prior statement on or around December 27th, 2021 that he did not move?
If that is what I wrote, that is what I wrote.
Well, I am asking you.
I think you said. Read it to me, please.
Well, I can allow you to refresh your memory.
I would love to look at it, thank you.
Okay.
So I am going to read this.
Sergeant Rollins, you can't read it into evidence.
Okay, that is fine. I think you are taking things out of context. You have to have the whole thing to understand what is going on.
My question to you was, do you deny or do you admit that previously you wrote, on or around December 27, 2021, that Justin Pulliam did not move?
So I wrote. Yes, and Justin did not move.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you for answering the question. Can I have that back?
Move across the street is what I am referring to.
Well, did you write that?
I did, I wrote, and he did not move.
You wrote that, he did not move?
Right.
But you agree that he did move, right?
Not across the street.
That wasn't my question.
He moved his feet, yes.
Okay, and again, he moved his feet in the direction toward the street, right?
He shuffled backwards.
Okay, and you arrested him before he could get to the street, is that right?
I don't think he was going to the street.
Well,
I don't think he was going across the street.
Objection asked and answered. Sustained.
Okay, I will ask another question. Would you agree with me that it is impossible for us to know where Justin would be after you arrested him?
Yes.
Okay, because he wasn't given the opportunity to finish where he was headed, right?
I don't think he was going across the street.
You don't think?
I don't.
If we would have had 5 more seconds, do you think we would have known?
We didn't have 5 more seconds. I gave him plenty of seconds because of the situation. I didn't have that much time. I needed to make a decision right then and there. He didn't want to move across the street. He kept stopping. Why? Why do I have to move across the street? He didn't say it was for my safety. He also said, why? So y'all can shoot him. It is stalling tactics.
Did that make you mad when he said, why, so y'all can shoot him?
No, it made me understand why he was there. I've come across lots of media and people with cameras, and never, hundreds, probably over 16 years, never once has one of them ever said, when I asked them to move, I've had many, asked them to move back, no problem, they usually say, can I get a statement afterwards? No problem, none of them ever said, why, so y'all can shoot him?
So that was unusual that he said.
Very unusual.
So that made you upset?
It made me understand the reason he was there. Kind of.
So you thought he didn't like police, right?
I think he was there to create a situation where he could, have a good video for views.
Okay, alright, so I'm going to ask you again. We talked about this prior statement, and that was on December 27th, 2021. Did you make another statement on December 21st, 2021 that Justin did not move on a separate document?
Which document?
Probable cause affidavit.
It should be the same thing as my offense report.
Did you copy and paste it?
I don't believe I did.
Okay, do you acknowledge or deny that on December 21st, 2021, you made a statement that Justin did not move?
If that is what I wrote, yes.
Would you like to refresh your memory with it, so you can tell me yes or no?
If that is what I wrote then, yes.
So you did write it?
Yes.
So going back to this arrest, you came up to him, you told him you were arresting him, what did he do?
He stopped, turned around, put his hands behind his back.
That concluded the government's case against me. However, I never got my day in court. Fort Bend County and Sheriff Eric Fagan nullified my right to present a defense. Closing arguments are next, then you can leave your verdict in the comments. I guess now's as good of time as any for me to say that I did not have a fair trial. Prior to this experience, I ignorantly thought court was a place where the truth mattered, where everyone laid all information on the table for a jury to evaluate the facts. I now realize that political retaliation is the chief doctrine of American government, certainly to include the so-called criminal justice system. When you fight for the people and expose corrupt officials, don't expect government to treat you right. In theory, it should not matter, but in reality, these simple humans are incapable of putting aside their biases, such as their loyalty to the government club and political allies. Never go for a bench trial if you are for the people, because the local government club will do anything, weaponizing any opportunity to destroy you. In my case, there were 4 huge rulings against me from the bench. My supporters thought the judge would have issued a guilty verdict. But what will the jurors say?
I have in front of me as applied challenge to constitutionality of Texas Penal Code 3815, as well as a directed verdict. Which one do you want to address first, Mr. Dubose?
Judge, we can address the directed verdict first.
All right, I am denying the directed verdict. Do you want to put evidence forth or anything on the record?
Just briefly. For the record, our position is that the elements weren't proved here. It didn't prove that Justin interfered with anyone. Video shows that he wasn't interfering. Also, that when given the instruction to go across the street, Justin moved backwards towards the street, and then, his compliance with that was interrupted by the officer arresting him. And then, the officer being deceptive on the stand goes to his credibility. So we would argue that the state did not prove the elements of this offense.
Response on this record.
Sure, Judge, it is our position that we have provided more than a scintilla of evidence for the jury to make a decision on the elements of this case.
All right, on to the constitutionality of Texas Penal Code 3815. Go ahead, Mr. Dubose.
Obviously, the First Amendment protects the rights of free speech. We know it protects the right of press, but what the Supreme Court has said is that the right to produce news, implicit in that, is the right to collect news, because you can't put it in the news unless you go get it. So his right to do that was violated when he was sent off, and when he was the only one who was made to leave the crime scene. Essentially, they deprived him of, sort of, an equal right to access that the public had, and their reasoning for doing so was not constitutional.
All right, I am going to deny the motion, and we are going to proceed with trial.
Thank you, Judge.
What are we doing about the witness?
Judge, defense is going to rest and close.
You are not going to call the officers? You are not going to call anybody?
Well, he is not available. He is not getting back to me. I don't think the jury would like me waiting 2 days to bring them back for him, and he was going to be my witness, and I am not going to bring them back Friday to speak to Sheriff Fagan either. I don't think the jury is going to like that, so that is what we are doing.
All right.
Judge, the second issue, obviously, I am requesting an instruction on speech, the affirmative defense. It is a part of this statute. Part D of 3915 is that it is, let's see. It is a defense to prosecution.
38.
Sorry, 38, I apologize, Judge. It is a defense to prosecution under this section that the interruption, disruption, impediment, or interference alleged consisted of speech only. The jury gets to decide where the interference occurred, right? They get to decide if there was interference, and at what moment that happened, and so, this instruction is basically to say, if you find that the interference was speech only, then, he is not guilty. The interference has to be something other than speech.
So the statute clearly says, it is a defense to prosecution under this section that the interruption, disruption, impediment, or interference alleged consisted of speech only. So I believe the testimony does not support it, so I am going to deny that request.
Just so that I am clear on the record, the state can preempt him getting to use an affirmative defense through the manner and means that they alleged in the indictment? Is that, because that's what it seems is happening, Judge?
I made my ruling, it is on the record. Your objection is also on the record.
Okay, thank you, Judge. You all heard why the chicken crossed the road, right? You ever heard of why didn't the chicken cross the road? You hadn't heard it, but if it was a joke in here, the chicken didn't cross the road, because before he could get to the road, the sergeant stopped him from getting there, right? That is why the chicken never got there. You just heard that we saw no evidence that he crossed the road, and I guess that is right. I mean, when you get put in handcuffs and arrested while you are backing up, you can't get to the road. That happens. You guys remember we watched 10 minutes, which was mostly nothing happening. My client was just standing there, filming silently. But this part was important, so I wanted to make sure that we zero in on it. This was the video that the state didn't want you to see. This is what the state told you. The defendant again refuses, and Sergeant Rollins counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and this is their words, and he arrested the defendant. But they left something out, didn't they? The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Something happened after that, didn't it? Go across the street. And what happened? As we just saw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mr. Briones, I don't want to run into you. And you probably realize this. I don't know if you picked this up at some point, but this video is actually on one of the state's discs, right? They introduced this into evidence. They didn't tell you that this video was in evidence. They didn't show it to you. They didn't publish it. They didn't want you to see this video. And all those cameras, I want to remind you, every camera view that you had here was from one of Justin's cameras, right? He went out there, as she said in the opening, I think, decked out with camera equipment. Well, thank God, right? Otherwise, I might have not been able to get Officer Rollins to admit that he changed his story, because I would have not had the video to show it before I asked him that question. So we brought you the evidence, the state brought some, and they even put this into evidence. But they didn't show it to you. They didn't want you to know what actually happened, and I can understand why, right? If I was trying a case, and I had an officer, and he had written prior statements that a guy didn't move, right, and those statements had actually gotten the guy arrested, and then he came here on the stand, and he was going to testify to you that a guy didn't move, and there is video showing that the guy did move. What am I going to do? How am I going to tell my story, right? That story, the false story that Justin didn't move, this isn't some small thing, right? He is charged with failing to follow the order of Officer Rollins, so what that order is, and how he responded to it, that is the whole deal here, right? Like, I mean, you don't lie about that. This is not a lie about the color of his shoes, it's the critical fact that makes the crime, right? That is the thing they lied to you about. We also learned one of those prior inconsistent statements was in a PC affidavit, probable cause. Do you remember in voir dire that we talked about the steps, right? I had that slide, and you got to get from here, no evidence, and everybody agreed with me that no evidence means you are not convicted, all the way up to beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Somewhere in the middle there was probable cause, and that is what gets us here. Has anybody ever seen The Price is Right? You've got The Price is Right, that little man who climbs up those little mountains, you know, he moves up right here. Well, this was Mr. Rollins trying to get to probable cause, right? Instead of yodeling, he was lying, so he gets to probable cause, and then he has to go from probable cause to beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So what does he do next? He comes in here, and he lies to you, right? And this officer, you know, he gets up here, and he is willing to lie about that, and the question becomes, you know, what else would he lie about, right? I mean, that is why Justin ends up out there, right? Because he is worried that these police officers, well, that these police officers are doing things that are wrong. I didn't strike any of you because I thought that you could listen to these facts, and that you can decide that, in your community, an officer doesn't get to lie about you from the beginning of the case, and then the state doesn't get to keep the evidence from you, and then you convict him and call this man a criminal for the rest of his life based upon lies and deceptions. And don't let them get up here and convince you that, oh yeah, even though we lied, now here is why we are going to tell you why he is still guilty. What you are being asked to do is weigh in on when an officer does what he did, and when Justin behaves like he did, being there to help and complying with those orders. Are we really going to find him guilty? A man that is there to help and be a good positive part of your community. And I want you to return a verdict of not guilty. Send these people a message that, don't waste your time and your community, don't put officers up here that are going to lie. At least if they are not going to tell the truth to anybody else, tell the truth to the jury, because they are asking you to make the decision about a man's life, and you are entitled to complete information, and I shouldn't have to be the one that brings it to you. Thank you.
The video that the defense attorney was showing you, that was already admitted as State's Exhibit number 19. And you can go back there, and you can watch it. We are not hiding anything from you. We showed you a different angle, but it is in evidence. State's Exhibit number 19. These are all distractions. These officers decide to serve and protect our community. Who do we rely on when we have people like him impede their duties? We don't have to prove to you that he moved. We are not here because of that.
I'm sorry, Judge. I am going to object. The indictment says, failed to move across the street.
I was getting to that, Judge.
Okay.
We are here because he failed to move across the street, and he didn't. And you heard testimony from Sergeant Rollins that he was stalling, and how many times does Sergeant Rollins have to say to move? You heard from April, who said, we eventually moved out of the way. Why didn't they move at that time? Because he was there and he was arguing with officers. That is why they hadn't moved over there. Sergeant Rollins had just arrived. He was trying to figure out what was going on. Who do we rely on whenever we are in danger? Whenever there is someone that needs help? If they are just going to interfere with the officers performing their job, their duty, who do we rely on? And so, when you go back there, we ask that you find the defendant, Justin Reed Pulliam, guilty of interference with public duties. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all the evidence, the charge of the court, closing arguments of counsel are before you.
The jury ordered lunch and got to work. They requested my videos and several portions of the testimony. Basically what you watched in this video. I guess the jurors are a good focus group for that. They also requested the police report that Rollins wrote. However, the prosecution didn't want the jury to see it. My side wanted the jury to have access to everything, but the government did not want to introduce the government's own report. Let that sink in. The document, the language that was used to charge me and destroy my life, they didn't want the jury to see that. Why? The jury deliberated late into the evening. You'll get to see soon whether or not I was found guilty. As you probably realized by now, I did not record the trial. I had my camera for use as an exhibit. If I was able to post real video of the trial, it would go viral, reaching millions of viewers, and it would cause many of those people to rethink their beliefs about the police and local government. The integrity of the courts. I mean, come on, all of these government people went along with a lie. They tried to frame me when there was video evidence of what happened. How insane is that? Most people wouldn't believe it without seeing it for themselves. Video recording the trial would have cost basically nothing. Instead, I paid $3,558 for court transcripts. The animation software that I use costs about $200 per month. I spent 86 hours animating the scenes for this video. And I paid over $20,000 in direct costs for legal defense. But there is much more from the 3-day trial that I can't fit into this video. I made an exclusive trial book with court transcripts, depositions, motions, and my behind-the-scenes insight. The 244 pages reveal the shocking truths that the police don't want you to know. There's a link in the video description so you can order your copy today. Liberty Leader Patreon donors will receive a copy as part of their membership. You don't have a choice when you are forced to pay taxes to corrupt police departments. Your money is used to target people like me who expose bad cops. But you can make the choice today to stand with me so we can fight back against lies, corruption, and retaliation. Your donation of $5, $20, $100 or more would mean a lot to me as I continue to fight for everyone's right to film the police and criticize government. I won't stop until the courts tell the police that they cannot retaliate against anyone like this ever again, even if that means going all the way to the Supreme Court. And it's not just accountability that the police hate. The police hate that I make money, and they intentionally seek to harm me financially. Defunding me is their motivation. Fort Bend County says even more disturbing is his financial solicitation to support himself. They want to shut me down. They want to ban me from using videos of the police in what they call my negative comment post. Apparently, it creates a reputation management challenge. It would have been much easier and cheaper for me to take Patty's plea deal. However, that would have let the bad cops off the hook. I want to hold them accountable and create important change. Not many people fight as hard as I do, but the past 3 years have been very difficult. Your support would really help me out as I vow to see this battle through to the end.
Ready?
Yes.
1 guilty, 5 not guilty. The jury has just returned with a note at 8:51 p.m. stating, "We are unable to make a unanimous verdict. So at this point, I think I am going to have to declare a mistrial."
Judge, they have deliberated for 8 hours, so I guess they have.
We left. What time did we leave?
9 hours.
12:18 was when the state ended.
12:18?
Yes.
I do think they seem to have given it quite a lot of time.
A fair shot.
For them to go back with everything and say that, I don't think we are going to get anywhere. Do you believe that more time would help you get to a verdict? Who is the foreperson? If you would stand and if you would let us know if more time would help you get to that or no.
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right. I know you worked very hard. And so we thank you and we appreciate what you have given to the county. I am declaring a mistrial.
5 jurors fought harder for me than I could have ever imagined. It means a lot to me and gives me hope. However, a single juror refused to allow the jury to reach a verdict. The vote was 5 not guilty to 1. And this shows how much government is out of touch with the people who fund their salaries, the people who they purport to serve. 5 out of 6 Fort Bend residents don't like it when cops lie, but almost everyone in the county government went along with the anti-Justin program. The sheriff's office, the district attorney, the county and district judges. They all tried to make me a criminal for reporting about police misconduct. When asked about the PC affidavit during a deposition, Rollins said, "It was bad wording in one sentence on my part, and not that I was telling a lie. It was just what I remembered and what, actually, you see on the video." However, he had already seen the dash camera video prior to the testimony he gave in court, before he again asserted his multiple claims that I did not move. Rollins also complained about the angle of the video. That's a big reason why I started recording the police in the first place. Cops don't want video that shows exactly what happens. Body cameras allow plenty of flexibility to fabricate police reports. Body cameras often miss the action, get covered, or bounce around, especially in use of force scenarios. Of course, those videos can be deleted, withheld from the public, or conveniently lost. And that's assuming that the battery wasn't dead, or they weren't intentionally or unintentionally not turned on in the first place. However, an independent videographer who is not restricted in his movement can capture all the important action. The police can't allow that to happen. They'd have to start telling the truth, and that would make their jobs harder.
You're interfering with my job. You're making my job a lot harder than it needs to be.
Shortly after my trial, the DA's office dismissed all charges against Edwin. He was never tried. Of course, most of the prosecution's sensational show trial against me would have been moot had Edwin already been innocent, cleared of the allegations. As for me, the local government club continued to abuse their authority. Or maybe that's exactly how our government was designed. I think it's both bad people and bad laws. They kept me under indictment and continued to strip me of my rights. It's the type of evil extrajudicial punishment that would not exist in a truly free country. But in Fort Bend County, there is not a single person in government willing and able to stop the retaliation. I've learned that the process is the punishment, and that being innocent receives a much harsher sentence than allowing them to churn you through the system with a conviction plea. Although my finances and media business are in shambles, Rollins has been promoted twice. He's now the night shift patrol lieutenant. He wasn't Brady listed, he wasn't suspended, he wasn't prosecuted for his statements. The Sheriff's Office administration fully supports his actions. There wasn't even a discussion about what could have been done better. Rollins later said that it wasn't a mistake to arrest me, and he would not have done anything differently on scene. That's a big part of America's police problem. They think that they can do no wrong. They could use videos to improve. Instead, they treat any scrutiny as an enemy attack that must be ended. The police are proud of what they did to me, and don't think that they wouldn't do the same thing to you, just like Lake Jackson police did to a man who filmed them for his first time. The officer's lies got the man arrested on a felony, but the videos captured the truth. Watch that report next.